Good evening, everyone. I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Atipimiwak nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Before I call for a motion for the agenda, I will turn things over to CO Beveridge for an introduction this evening.
Thank you, Mayor Zahara. So tonight I have the distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Doug Wagstaff. Doug is our new General Manager of Community and Protective Services. Doug comes to us with a multitude of years of experience with the town of Olds, as well as with Olds College. So we welcome Doug to the community, and we look forward to learning what he can bring forward to this community and to the organization.
Welcome aboard, Doug. I appreciate you being here this evening and hope you enjoy Edson. Thank you. Can I get a motion, please, that the agenda of the November 7th, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the October 17th, 2023 organizational meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Byer.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Byer. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that the minutes of the October 17th, 2023 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. We have no public hearings, no delegations, and no reading of bylaws. Can I get a motion, please, that council accept the groundwater sustainable assessment final report and capital plan as information? Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
I'll make it so.
All right, and we'll have things over to Mr. Clayton Kitlitz, General Manager of Infrastructure and Planning, to start us off with the presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. As per the motion, we're looking for council support, accept this final report as information. This is a body of work that was approved by council during the development of the 2021 capital plan. And this work is built off of existing studies and analyses that were done in previous years on the town's water source. Again, trying to take a look at that and update the information and understand what the longevity and viability of our underground water source is into the future. Edson, a division of Worley Canada, was the successful consultant that was awarded this body of work for us. And as council saw with the package, it's a rather large document, and we're going to ask Morris to come up here and introduce himself and do a summary presentation of this body of work. And so, Morris, come on up. And
Thank you, Clay. There we go. Nice to meet all of you. Thank you for inviting us. My name is Morris McCanio. I'm a hydrogeologist with Edson. Edson is the water environmental consulting side of Worley Parsons, which is a global engineering company. We completed a study on the groundwater supply and sustainability for the town of Edson, and we wanted to show you the results. So outline for the talk today is a little bit on the groundwater supply versus the demand for the town. I wanted to talk about the license amalgamation too that the town recently was able to achieve. That was something unique for Alberta Environment and Protection to have all licenses amalgamated into one, which is a good advantage for you guys in terms of getting new wells online for your water supply. I wanted also to give an overview of the Paskapoo Aquifer, which is a really important groundwater resource, not only in Alberta, but considered one of one of the premier aquifers in Western Canada. And then talk about the modeling results, what we did, what the results mean, and what the implications are for the town in terms of supply and sustainability. So this is a curve that cartoon is showing what the water demand expected is to be in the future. Right now, or in 2016, the population was anticipated at 8418, and a water demand of 1.2 million cubes per year. In 2030, the population anticipated to be 10,000, with a demand anticipated to be 1.5 million cubes per year. Last year, the actual water use, I think the last 2 years, the actual water use, groundwater use in the town was a little over 1 million cubes per year, so about 1.1. The amalgamated license was something that was achieved by the town in 2021, which allows for use of or extraction of 1.5 million cubes a year. It amalgamated all of the old licenses. It defined the Pascapoo Formation and the Edson Channel Aquifer as a single source of groundwater, which was really important, and defined an aquifer management area, the AMA, which is also really important for you to be able to explore and put wells online within that aquifer management area. And it also attached terms and conditions related to groundwater monitoring and usage within the AMA. It also has no expiry date. So I'll talk to you about the Pascapoo Formation aquifer. So that's this yellow, on this geological map, is the Pascapoo Formation. So you guys are sitting right on top of it, and you're right in the middle of it. It's a very important groundwater resource. It's got great groundwater, so the mineralization is very low. It produces good volumes. It's a really important source of water between Edmonton and Red Deer, or between Calgary and Red Deer in that corridor. And it is quite extensive laterally over the area. The other thing that's important for you to see is that in cross-section, you got about 400 meters thickness of the Pascapoo Formation that you're sitting on top of. So it thickens to the west as a wedge, and then it thins to the east. So towards Pigeon Lake, for example, it pinches almost to nothing. So you guys are sitting over a few hundred meters of Pascapoo. And again, the water quality is very good. And it's a really important aquifer. Geologically, it was deposited as the Rocky Mountains were building, and it's essentially a sandstone with a bunch of coalescing sandstone channels embedded in silt or clay. So, and the upper part is fractured. So we get a lot of water from these channels, and also from the fractured mudstone. And it was important also when we did the amalgamation to be able to define that all of these channels basically are one continuous unit. So that it's, you know, you have the ability to extract from all of the Pascapoo within the aquifer management area, from the surface down to the bottom a few hundred meters. You also have the benefit of this Edson Channel Aquifer. So it's a buried channel that occurs on top of the bedrock, and it's also quite sandy, quite permeable, and is also a good source of water. So the Pascapoo system includes this, as well as the Pascapoo below. So right now you're drawing water from the upper portions of the Pascapoo, and also some of it from this Edson Channel Aquifer. The aquifer management area is encompassed by this line here, this boundary. And again, the AMA is defined as the total thickness of the Pascapoo Formation within this aquifer management area. These are some of the wells that you have, but essentially you've got the ability to explore all of this area for your groundwater needs. and tie in other wells within this aquifer management area. And that was something that you didn't have, pre-2021. You had to go through an individual license application and so on for each individual well. You're not the only ones that are using groundwater in the area. So these blue dots are also domestic water wells within the aquifer management area. Yeah, here's the town. These blue dots are other users, domestic users. And then in the study area, so when we modeled the sustainability of the groundwater for the town, we took this as our study area. So we took this large area as a study area. And then in that study area for the modeling, you can see that there's other, again, other users, and these are other licensed users in the area. Also tapped into the Pascapoo. So we defined the study area as the aquifer management area plus a larger area. And then we, to understand how much water can be extracted and what it would look like in 20 years to extract and try to, get to the 1.5 million cubes, the best way to answer these kind of questions is with groundwater modeling. And groundwater flow is like heat flow. Groundwater moves in response to differences in potential, just like heat moves in response to difference in temperature. Groundwater is the same thing. So we can model it mathematically. We define the boundary conditions, we define the precipitation, we define how it interacts with surface water, we define the properties of the aquifer, the permeability of the aquifer, the storativity of the aquifer, and we can model. And it allows us to answer questions or ask questions about how much groundwater can we pump, for how long can we pump it, and what are the effects on other groundwater users, or ecologically sensitive areas that may depend also on groundwater, like wetlands, et cetera. So what we tried to do with the town of Edson model was get a better understanding of pumping of the Pascapoo aquifer system, let you know how much groundwater is available in the Pascapoo aquifer system now that we've got this amalgamated license and we've got this defined area that we can explore in, and what's the longer term outlook for sustainable yield of the groundwater. And then once we have a model like this, we can keep improving the model, we can ask further questions, we can refine the model by every time we drill, we get better picture of the geology, et cetera, different water levels, and refine our understanding. So this study built on, the hydrogeology database that was built by the town over many years of monitoring, updating the existing geologic model, developing a numerical model using current software, and then again, working within the AMA, recognized by the regulator and defined within that amalgamated license. That was also really important, that now we've got that in place. So the model domain, here's the AMA, the Aquifer Management Area, the town's in there. We define boundaries by hydraulic boundaries, so the Athabasca River, the McLeod River, a drainage divide to the southwest. So all of this area really is what we modeled. So we modeled the groundwater flow in that area so that we can understand in this area, what happens when we pump. Here's another look at it. So the geology of here's the Pascapoo. Below the Pascapoo is a formation called the Scallard, which is low permeability, and we don't get much groundwater out of that. So we modeled essentially that thickness of Pascapoo beneath the town. So again, it's hydraulically continuous. It's within the AMA. It's the entire vertical extent of the Pascapoo, down to the 400 meters or so. Most of the wells that the pump uses or the town uses now are essentially in the upper 50 to 80 meters. There's a lot more thickness in the Pascapoo, deeper than that has groundwater. And there are approximately 21 town pumping wells within the AMA that were simulated. And then we also simulated pumping at the other wells and the domestic use wells. So not only did we simulate how much pumping from the town, but also the others when we ran the model and tried to understand in future what would happen with pumping. Model calibration is a way for us to determine, well, how good is the model? It's what we do is essentially compare observed groundwater levels. So here with the simulated or the modeled groundwater levels. And if we get a one-to-one relationship, then it tells us the model's pretty good. Like it's giving us pretty good representative results of what groundwater levels should be across the whole, range of what groundwater levels are within the aquifer management area, because of it vary, the groundwater levels vary within the aquifer area. So one of the first questions we asked was, well, ideally, how much total groundwater could you get from the Pascapoo? So these yellow are theoretical pumping locations. In here, we said if we put wells in that were, we could draw down no more than 30 meters below the top of the Pascapoo formation, how much groundwater theoretically could we get if from these, this distribution of 25 or so theoretical drains within the Pascapoo? Well, we ran two scenarios. The one was using a hydraulic conductivity, or i.e. a permeability of 0.17 meters per day, which is kind of a conservative number, but that's the number that we calibrated to, gave us a good match for the calibration. Or a second scenario was having a conductivity of 1 meter per day, which is more like in the range of what we see when we do pumping tests. So it's a higher permeability, but again, quite reasonable. So if we look at those two scenarios, under the first scenario, we start off at about 6 million cubes, but over 20 years, it'll flatten down to about 3 million cubes. Remember that you're looking for about 1.5 by 2030. With a second scenario where it's higher permeability, which is in the realm of possibility, it starts off at about 12 million and it goes down to about 6 million. So there's plenty of water in that upper portion of the Pascapoo that can be produced. This is drawdown, so this is a little bit hard to read, but this tells us how the water levels would be affected in the aquifer management area. So within the aquifer management area, the drawdown or the effect on other wells, it's mostly confined to within the AMA, and it doesn't stretch much beyond, which is important, for users outside of the AMA. With the second scenario, it was similar, but the drawdown extends a little bit further out. But again, so we're drawing more water. That's double the amount of water that we're drawing. But again, within the realm of possibility. Now, that's availability. Sustainability is a different kind of question. Sustainability means how much can you withdraw without having negative effect on other users. And that's a different thing altogether. And it's also, we also wanted to know, given the well design, the well network that you have now, and the depths that the wells are at and where they're distributed, can you get that 1.5 in the next 20 years from the current configuration? So it's kind of both questions, right? Like, what kind of effect does it have on others? And can your actual well network produce that kind of water? Again, different scenarios. The nice thing about modeling is that once you set up a model, you can ask all kinds of questions. And you can run different scenarios and see what the answers are. So under the first scenario, we're pumping the 1.52 million cubes a year, and we're using that lower hydraulic conductivity for the upper Pascapoo. For the second scenario, we're using the 1 meter per day conductivity. And then for the third scenario, it's again the 1 meter per day, so the higher hydraulic conductivity or permeability. And then we're adding the two new pumping wells that were just recently added, the Vision Park wells. So the result from the first scenario is that the well network that exists right now can't produce the 1.52 without lowering the water levels at most of the wells below the level of their intake. And again, a lot of these wells they're a maximum maybe 60, 80 meters deep, so they're not terribly deep, and you still have another, 200, 300, meters below that of Pascapoo. In the second scenario, at that higher hydraulic conductivity, you can produce it, but there's also the possibility that water levels at several wells are going to be below the maximum intake, especially as time goes by. It's difficult to predict which ones those are going to be. You need better sort of local geologic information to be able to predict that or to understand whether that's going to occur. And then we ran the scenario with the 2 new Vision Park wells, and that helped a lot, actually. So it produced the 1.5 and then reduced the drawdowns at the other wells. The other important part is that in all cases, the changes in the net groundwater recharge, groundwater flux to the river boundaries were negligible. This becomes important when you're talking about sustainability for other users and for base flow to the river and other surface water features in the area, not having an effect on those or negative effect on those. So this is a scenario 2. So some of these wells are going to draw down too much, and you're not going to be able to produce that 1.5. And then the third scenario, with these Vision Park wells, the drawdown is much less across the area in these other parts, and you're able to produce that 1.5 over the 20 years. So in the end, it doesn't look like groundwater availability is an issue. From that theoretical availability, you've got the Pascapoo is going to be able to produce, between 3 to 6, which is a lot higher, than the 1.5. But it's the way that the network is configured and the depths of the current wells that make it unlikely that you're going to be able to support that 1.5 to, into the future 20 years, because there's going to be overdraft effects. And the modeling is telling us that what you could consider is adding groundwater production wells within that AMA. You've got that whole AMA to work with, distribute them more across the AMA, and then also start exploring, deeper within the Pascapoo. And the advantage going deeper in the Pascapoo too is that it's going to be less prone to fluctuation and less, and likely have less effect on other users as well as we draw from a deeper within the Pascapoo. Right now, you're licensed to have the 1.52 no more. If you wanted to get more, beyond 2030 or beyond that, we can use the modeling then to help to revisit the license and then make the case for sustainability beyond pumping from 1.5 to say you need 2, then being able to build from that model and then demonstrating sustainability, especially with respect to other users and groundwater dependent surface features, could be important to make that case. So it's good to have a model because it allows you to answer those questions or ask those questions and then provide science-based answers. I wanted to point out just quickly a couple of things on fluoride. So with the groundwater, we're getting concentrations at a few wells that are above that Health Canada concentration of 1.5 milligram per liter. Since it's above that limit, then municipalities must treat the source water if the fluoride is above that 1.5. Most of them are below or less than 1.5, but there are a few that are up to say 3.1 milligram per liter. The town has 4 wells with the issue. 3 are pretty close together, and a 4th is about 6 kilometers away from the other ones. The regulator is looking for a response on what to do with the fluoride, and in the queue there's also a study to look at fluoride and how to reduce it. Try to see if there's a pattern with the fluoride, like where's it, is there a geologic reason why we see fluoride in some wells and not others, for example, and a treatment feasibility study, so practical treatment options, RO, reverse osmosis, or alumina, for example. And then the idea of having a centralized versus an individual wellhead treatment approach is something else to consider with respect to fluoride. Yeah, and so here's some of the fluoride data. So the dark blue is good, pink is higher, and yellow is also above the acceptable concentration. So mostly it's good, but there are 4 in the AMA that we know of that have a fluoride that exceeds the maximum acceptable concentration. So I just wanted to touch on that as well. And that's the presentation. Be happy to answer questions.
All right, thank you very much for that information. We will open the floor up to council for any questions that you might have. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
Okay, thanks for your presentations. If I'm understanding it right, if we go deeper, we'll get more water flow, is that correct?
You could get more, not necessarily more water flow, but you could access more volume, right? It may be higher permeability, lower. There's not a lot of data beneath the town here on what happens when we go deeper, but we know that the Pascapoo thickness takes it down to 400 meters.
And right now, do you know the average depth of our wells we have right now?
I think it's about 80,
About 80?
about 80, 60, 80, 100, yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
there's a lot more to explore, but it gets more expensive to go deeper.
Meters, yeah.
Meters, yeah.
Councillor Bonner.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration or our speaker, Mr. Morris. So my question is, we have a license to produce 1.5 million cubic meters per year. And this question is going to go back to when our Mr. Fisher did a presentation, and we were at 42% of our water capacity, I think, or that's what we were able to produce compared to what, I don't know if it was what our licensing was. And I'm just wondering, so what are we actually producing compared to what we are licensed for? I guess that's kind of my roundabout question.
I think for the last 2 years, if I'm correct, the town produced a little over 1 million cubes, 1.1, almost 1.1 in 2022 and 2021. Am I correct, Ken?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. So that equals about 67% of your available licensed volume.
Okay, can I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with that information, how much farther, or I guess, sorry, with what we need to be producing, how far away are we from that within our license capacity? So if we're at 60% of that already to get to that 1.5 million cubic meters, do we have enough room within that license to get to like 100% of the amount that Pat said in his report? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll start off, Mr. Mayor, and then I might let Darren or one of the other gentlemen weigh in. I think the difference is here. Yeah, I think the difference is what Mr. Fisher was presenting was our peak demand, right?
Okay.
Which isn't necessarily the same as this 1.1.
Okay.
They're two different things, by my understanding. And maybe Darren can weigh on. I think what it comes down to is the aquifer has capacity, but we don't have enough of a system or enough wells to produce more. And adding more wells and more distribution and more treatment helps us increase that peak demand. Is that correct, Darren? Am I getting that right?
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of council, the biggest bottleneck we had before was we had individual licenses. We couldn't drill any more wells because we already had enough licenses. So some of our old wells that had gone dry or not produced anymore still had a license attached to it, but wasn't producing. That gave us the bottleneck, so that's where we had to start the long process of getting a 1 aquifer license, which then opened us up to that 1.5 million per year. That didn't happen until 2021. We're only at 2023, so we really haven't had the opportunity to explore deeper, more wells to make our 1.1, which we get to our 100% produce, and then stop the frustration of any of the other wells or possible drawdown of the other wells.
Okay,
So I don't know if that, hopefully that
that does. Thank you.
a little clearer. It was a long process with AEP to get, like Morris was saying, we are the first
Yeah.
pretty much anywhere that has this type of license.
Yeah.
So it was a long road.
Yeah, I mean, the town is in a good spot having such a good aquifer and having that amalgamation and that license to explore. It's a question of demand though, really. You're able to produce the 1.1 or a little less than 1.1, but the demand may exceed that on a monthly basis in July when it's fire season. Right, you may not be able to produce it because of the wells and the configuration, but if you had a better network, better configured and perhaps deeper, you could produce the 1.2, the 1.3, the 1.4.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Bevan.
Yeah, through the chair. Darren, you had just mentioned that if one of our wells goes dry, we leave it go dry. Would it not be easier to go back into there and drill down deeper to see what we have below it instead of trying to drill a brand new well, which is going to put you in $1 million case to get a well out, rig out here to start drilling it? We already have the hole going down 80 to 100, tie onto it, go down deeper.
Through the mayor to Councillor Bevan. Part of that could be just the fact with the old license before, you can't drill deeper without a new license. We couldn't get new licenses to drill deeper because we had too much water. So that was our biggest bottleneck. Now we could look at some of that stuff. Now that we have the one aquifer license, we know that it's probably a whole lot cheaper depending on where the well is. We need new buildings, new everything anyway. Depending on the hydrology and all the data we've been collecting, we can probably not frustrate and have so many wells that were in the same areas. We can move to different areas that don't have any wells, and we can probably do a better job and get more water and have less issues in the future. So we're trying to look at the long-term game for us.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, thank you. Through the mayor. So do I understand correctly then our new license says anywhere inside that black line we can drill as many wells as we want as long as they don't exceed 1.5 million cubes or 1.512 or something? So that's, oh yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Through the mayor to whoever can answer this. Now, it's a broad type of question, but I was wondering about radon. Does radon enter the picture when it comes to well producing water from formations such as this?
It's a good question. We would need to look at the Pascapoo specifically, but my understanding is radon is more of an issue with till. So with clay sediments that are, derived from the shield, that's where radon from is more commonly associated. But yeah, it's something to check to make sure. But I don't think it's a common with the Pascapoo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byer.
Thanks. Through the chair to administration or Mr. Morris. So in your presentation, one of your recommendations was that we add groundwater protection wells at more distributed points across the AMA. So if we already have the license for the 1.5 million cubic meters a day, is the reason to add those protection wells to just secure that particular physical spot or to just ensure we have that constant flow of water?
It's to ensure a constant flow of water and there's less interference among the existing wells. So if you spread them out more evenly, then there's less probability that the drawdowns are going to interfere with each other. And then, the water level then goes below the level of the intake if they're too close together and they interfere with each other.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. You're done, Councillor Byer?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Council, do you have any further questions, comments, or concerns? Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Go ahead. Sorry, Councillor Bevan.
To the mayor, how do we monitor our water levels right now on our wells? Do we take fluid shots on them or anything like that, or what do we know what they're doing?
Well, we have a monitoring system with observation wells, and annually those levels need to be reported to Alberta Environment as part of the approval. So it's there's observation wells. You're measuring how much volume is being produced from each one, and you've also got water levels from the producing wells. There's observation wells and there's producing wells.
Okay, I come from a different world where we do fluid shots to find out what we have levels of water or liquid into our wells and that, and it gives us exactly, as it goes down, it pings and it gives us exactly
Right.
the level in that, eh? And I don't know if you guys have that or not, or the old days you used to put a gauge down there and do it, but nowadays it's more sophisticated.
I guess through the mayor to Councillor Bevan, we have some that we have a fairly extensive network. So we have some over by the Repsol gas plant, North Road, Hornbeck Trails. Those ones we just do static levels every month, and then we go from there. Then we used to take a lot of the chemical analysis from that. We do have some that are wells that are closer that obviously have power that have transponders into them or transducers, that will measure the constant level that we can measure the drawdown. Typically, most of our stuff is just the once a month at the time, and then we just take that data. We've been doing that data since the mid-'80s.
Yeah,
So we have a fairly substantial 20, 40, 50 years
You've got a great
data.
database, yeah, with water levels.
So it's been a fairly long trend. So we can get a pretty accurate number of what they're all doing and what we're doing kind of outside our AMA area also.
Thank you. Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor. Maybe it's good to mention that when we're monitoring our wells, that's why you may see a town of Edson truck way out in the county.
Possibly, yes.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for your presentation. No doubt this information is critical as we develop our capital plans when it comes to our water system. Water sustainability has been obviously a topic of discussion in recent years as we look at growing the town and the community. And I want to applaud our utilities department and their administration for getting that single license. I know it was a lot of work, and I think it'll help us moving forward in the future. So thank you everyone for your work on this.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no further questions, comments, or concerns, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Can I get a motion, please, that council approve the necessary budget to increase the service level for the highway adjacent sidewalk snow clearing, the amount of $42,000, which will be incorporated within the 2024 budget? Go ahead, Councillor Chenard.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Byers will be presenting on this evening.
I hit this right? No. Sorry. Good evening, Mayor and everyone. I would like to just present just a small amount of information. You had the RFD in front of you. Just following up on the work of Mr. Beck. And so this is kind of, I guess, some new developments that I want to share with you, and obviously requiring a decision. Sorry. I guess it's not working. There we go. Okay. So council adopted the sidewalk facility and trail snow and ice policy, CS9, on May 2nd, 2023. That included a significant service level enhancement for the municipality by adding the responsibility of clearing sidewalks along the Highway 16 corridor to the Parks portfolio. The policy acknowledges the unique maintenance challenges for landowners that are adjacent to the provincially maintained highway, as the prevailing snow clearing practices often led to snow being deposited on the adjacent sidewalks. So, there were some cases where you would just have a contractor, they'd come remove the snow, and then 2 hours later, a plow would come and put it right back on. So, this is obviously acknowledging the challenges that presented. The town further acknowledges that efficient snow clearing services of these sidewalks is important to pedestrians for safety and community walkability. So how are we going to achieve this? In order to successfully meet the 72-hour timeline to have snow cleared from the sidewalks along 2nd and 4th Avenue following a snow event, was just to remind you also with the policy, it's 3 centimeters is the accumulation which will trigger snow removal. So administration has determined engaging a private contractor to be the best path forward. Contractors are equipped with the required specialized machinery, trained personnel, and are required to carry liability insurance, which lessens the town's liability in case of an incident. So we had an initial estimate done, which Mr. Beck had provided to you. So with his estimate was 40,000, and then subtracting the 18,000, which was the staff reduction that was involved in I guess we were giving that up in order, because we were no longer doing portions of second and fourth. And so it was 21,000 is what was anticipated. But we did go through the RFP process in September, looking for qualified contractors to do this work. And the proposals came in with overall costs that were higher than administration had thought at the time. So we are now estimating that it's going to be closer to 42,000. I guess closer to 60 total, but a net of 42,000 per year that we're going to need in the budget annually in order to do this work with the contractor. This is, of course, going to fluctuate depending on how many snowfalls we get and how much snow removal is required, how many sandings are required. But this just being our first go at it, we're estimating hopefully a little bit high, just to make sure that we do have sufficient budget in order to do this work. I'm going to point out on this slide that in the RFD package, in the bottom table and under 2023, we had a cost saving there of 0. It was just a mistake. It was missed. So for 2023, we will actually have cost savings because we aren't hiring that additional seasonal labor this fall. So, or this winter, I guess. So there will be a cost saving there. Additionally, in 2023, we do have budget within our existing budget to manage snow clear for the remainder of the year. But annually, we are going to need that additional 42,000 if we're to carry forward with this. So at this time, administration, we're unable to proceed with the RFP process until a council decision has been made regarding the budget and direction has been provided regarding how council wishes to move forward. In the interim, a temporary contract has been put in place to provide the snow clearing on 2nd and 4th until final approval for the permanent solution is put in place.
All right, thank you, Ms. Byers, for that presentation. Council, we will open the floor to questions and comments. Councillor Chenard.
Through the mayor to whoever can answer the question. So after a snowfall, it triggers an event. We get that. So who's going to call it when the snowplow comes along and buries half the sidewalks? Again, so they got to do it a second time.
Through the mayor to Councillor Chenard, it is actually written in the policy that it would be it was called the Parks and Facilities Maintenance Manager at the time, or their designate would trigger it. And so in this case, we have Rena Beyer she's the one that's triggering it. So when we do determine, the timeline and the accumulation, then she contacts a contractor. You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. We have no information items, no sundry items, council committee reports. We are going back to October the 18th, and today we will start with Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor, because I wasn't here at the last council meeting, I just have 2 quick reports prior to the 18th, with your permission, Mr. Mayor. On October 5th, we held our first FCSS meeting, and where we elected our chair, Diana Chomniak, and our vice chair, Lance Casavant. It was a great sort of group of individuals, and we're excited to get started with that. On October 16th, I, as well as Lex and all of us toy dinosaurs, attended the Yellowhead Regional Library Board meeting via Zoom. And just an update on funding is that I think funding as of earlier this year or the previous year, funding is on that organization is done via your population. And wondering where they get the numbers for population. They get the numbers from the Treasury Board estimates of population. And because of that, they're estimating Edson's population at 7,903, meaning that we have a reduction in what we're going to be paying in 2024. We're going to save roughly $700, but we still get the same services. So there you go. But there was a lot of controversy about where they get the numbers from, because I think some municipalities will be paying more. I know though there was a lot of discussion on it, which was really interesting. So On October 18th, I attended the Edson Public Library Board meeting. Our fundraising packages will be going out this week to lots of different businesses. So look out for that, and to cover a lot of the furnishing costs that are going to come along with the renovations. And I believe council's also been getting updates on the renovations, and I believe they are pouring the concrete on the sidewalks this week. On the 24th, I attended the land use bylaw workshop with members of council. On the 30th, we had another FCSS meeting where we went through all of our grant funding, and that information will be coming back to council on November 21st for official approval. November 1st, I attended library staff appreciation night to thank the staff for the amazing work they have done moving, continue to do in the temporary location, and will do again when they move back into the permanent location. And November 6th, yesterday, Councillor Position and I attended our youth council meeting and reporting on their project, and they kind of want to set up a project that's going to help vulnerable youth or help be preventative measures to help youth in the community. So that's going to be their project, and that's my report.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. And we will go to Councillor Moore.
Thank you. October 24th, I attended the land use bylaw meeting. October 25th, Glenwood Rink ribbon cutting, a very exciting event and a fantastic facility. October 26th, I attended the Edson and District Historical Society meeting. On the 30th, the West Yellowhead Waste Management meeting in Hinton. And as a board member of the Historical Society, I attended the Prohibition Party at the Galloway fundraiser for that very fine organization. Thank you very much.
Was there alcohol served?
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We will go to Councillor Byer.
Thanks. On October 24th, I attended the Multiplex Steering Committee meeting. That project's moving along, thank goodness. Also on the 24th, the Land Use Bylaw Workshop with other members of council. And on October 26th, I attended the Community Futures West Yellowhead meeting in Hinton. So Benita has left us at Community Futures, and Heather Cokes has taken over her position as the business analysis. So we're very excited that she's able to front run that portfolio.
Thank you. Councillor Bevan, you have nothing to report?
Land use bylaw, and that's it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Schrenard.
Come on. Okay. October 23rd, I attended my first Evergreen Zoom meeting. I sent the package to everyone. The only update they had is Grand Cache is moving ahead. They had some land problems, and they're starting to do their fundraising and get ready for their next project in Wildwood. On 24th, also did the lube workshop. 25th, the ribbon cutting in Glenwood. October 23rd, no, I think that's a misprint because that's the development workshop. October 20th, the Chamber Awards. October 30th, I attended our PAC meeting of forestry, and they brought us an update. The fire has burned 38% of the trees in the Edson FMA. Doesn't affect Hinton, but Edson. So their plan is they're going to move forward with a lot of contractors and try to move the wood before it's spoiled, and they're going to move it away to their other surrounding mills. I don't have the name of it. It was an a pulp company. Hinton Pulp is now sold to a big company, and apologize, I don't have the name of it. But what there was is Wes Fraser wanted to get out of the pulp business. As big as they are, they're not really successful in pulp, so they're going to be getting out of that. The other thing that was interesting is the flooding, the amount of damage it did out in the forest. It took out roads, crossing, bridges, and they brought us highlights. So that was very interesting that we didn't really think of it, but the fires caused one problem, burnt the trees and erosion, so they have millions of dollars spent in that as well. And then on the 31st, ribbon cutting for Mary Brown, so, and I was customer number 1, so pleased it's open. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Chenard. We will go to Councillor Positioning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on the 18th to the 20th, I attended the Recycling Council of Alberta conference. It was my first time attending. Interesting conference to go to. The word on the street from the recycling world is everybody's hold everything till the government decides what they're doing. So it's interesting. One piece of information that I wanted to point out that I learned is that paper cups that you get at your coffee shops are actually plastic lined. So they're not just paper. So I found that interesting. Interesting conference. It was well attended by a lot of people from the recycling world. So it was interesting for our first time going to that conference. On the 24th, I attended the YCE steering committee on the multiplex, as well as the land use bylaw workshop in the evening. And then on the 26th, I attended the Edson Senior Transportation Society board meeting. On the 6th, I attended the youth council meeting last night, and then tonight.
All right, thank you, Councillor Pisichny. On October 20th, attended the Chamber of Commerce Awards. It was great to see so many businesses represented. A lot of newer businesses in our community won awards, and some longstanding businesses. So it was a really good event, and thank the Chamber for hosting that. On the 24th, the YCE Steering Committee meeting, as well as the Land Use Bylaw Workshop. October 30th, with Councillor Moore, attended the West Yellowhead Regional Waste meeting. We finally passed our 2022 financials. There's been a lot of challenges as part of the year fell. We changed over between who was managing the landfill from Hinton to Yellowhead County, so that caused some issues along with the problems that we had earlier this spring with the emergencies. The good news is that we will have a major surplus in 2022 due to the major projects that were in our region. And the board decided that that surplus will stay within the authority to pay for future capital and operational costs, so we don't have another one-time ask for future capital like we seen earlier this year. The construction of the new cell is behind schedule, mostly due to supply issues due to the port strike earlier this year, but that work is ongoing, and our contractor who is operating the landfill for us has been doing a great job on compaction, which is really good to see, which will help us prolong the life of that landfill. And that is my report. We have no financial items. Questions from media and public regarding items from this council meeting?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Charles Wells. To the chair and through to council. I had a couple questions about the fluoride content that was brought up earlier with the 4 wells. It's my understanding that the town of Edson has regional water reservoirs. So do these 4 wells disproportionately affect certain areas of the town, or is it basically spread throughout the town with the higher level of fluoride?
So we'll note down your question. That's a little bit more technical than I can get into,
Okay.
and we can respond to you if you want to leave your contact information.
Okay, is there information online that you can get to see the reports from what wells have the higher fluoride content, or is that protected?
I'm not sure if that is online or not, but once again, we can certainly get back to you on that.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wells. Any other questions? Seeing none. We have nobody from the media, Steve? Okay. We will take a motion to go into a closed session pursuant to section 17, 21, 23, 24, and 27 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Go ahead, Councillor Chenard. All right, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, can I get a motion, please, that council authorize administration to finalize and execute the Town of Edson Yellowhead County Revenue Sharing Agreement? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, that council authorize administration to proceed as directed in closed session? Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I so move.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And Councilor Chenard, would you like to make a motion for adjournment?
Motion for adjournment.
Thank you, Councilor Chenard. All those in favor? Motion carried.